they're not staccato, they're just quavers. So just try to... Piano, and then pianissimo. I think that's getting better. I mean, I think I still would like it softer, and really, I mean, you can't really get soft enough there, as long as it still has bite. Yeah. In this opening, also, I would pay a bit more attention to the bass line, really, because that's, in a sense, what is fascinating, is this... Going down to the G. Yeah. If you can really feel that this first one is not just... and we started, but... there's a cello or whatever, a bassoon, actually playing that whole line of C's, and that the first note is not detached from the rest. So why don't we move on to the second subject material? And let's try a little bit more pure view of the theme, maybe not so slowed up, a little bit more even. Two little points. I miss this. I hear lots of the right hand, especially, and also this scale, but I don't hear really what I think is important, which is the bass line. And with this theme, you have, it's the first time is dolce molto legato, nothing, dee da 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 da, then dee da da dee da, and it's a crescendo to a sforzando within that one bar, with a little hairpin down to the next piano. So the two, they must be totally different in the direction and the dynamics. Let's just try again from here. But go to the G sharp. That's the high, yeah. It sort of slows in the triplets and rushes in the others. It should be more gradual. Let's try what we were talking about before, the forte here. Keep it sort of on the mezzo side of forte, and then suddenly give us this fortissimo. It's thrilling. It's so exciting. Well, that's, yeah, not as much, I don't think. It's got to fit into an expressive way of playing the phrase, but it's something that just, I think, to work on a little bit more. Be careful also not to lose the bass where you have the forte pianos here. It's important that this should end up on the A as a resolution. you to try sometime to do that much more in tempo. These and then back to, there is always the possibility with something like this, as I said, that it will be a tiny bit under tempo, but you should be able to deceive the audience that really it wasn't, that their ears were wrong, not you. Yeah. There's a slight, Beethoven, the dynamics and the phrasings are as important as the notes in Beethoven, and that sounds like an exaggeration, but I don't think it is really. It would be as wrong to put 5 sharps at the bottom and play it as it would to ignore completely, I think, some of the markings, because Beethoven is the most specific marking probably before the 20th century. Can we just try some of that? Because I want to go back into the recap as well. When Beethoven repeats an idea like this over and over and over again, there's a tendency for us to want to soften it by doing something with it, trying to think, oh, this time I'll do it a little bit more here, a little bit. Sometimes, Beethoven just wants to say the same thing again and again and again and again, and that is part of the style. It's particularly true in the last movement of this, when you get these endlessly reiterated chords and just great blocks of C major. He wants those positive colors, and I miss that a little bit, but particularly in the when you played it as a performance. A little less now. What you did before when we talked about the subito fortissimo, you did here, and that's your crescendo to it. And I like it's much more exciting, I think, if it's subito. Yeah. And then absolutely and subito fortissimo. Can we just try maybe from just the lead into this? Using a 5th finger on the bottom. But still pianissimo, but and in the right hand too. This forte that he has on this last note is a rather strange. What do you think it might mean?
I think it's like the beginning, like it's an accent to that.
I don't think there is an accent at the beginning, though.
Well, I always put one.
Well, I think we've taken it out, though, in the last 15 minutes, but you can put it back later. I mean, it could either be a reinforcement of an accent, or I wonder whether it might not be. In fact, it says it's missing in the original edition, which proves that even at the time of Beethoven, it was a bit of a mystery. I wonder whether it might be that he doesn't want an accent on that he wants it softer slightly.
Oh, because it's forte.
Because otherwise you get this overhanging a little bit. I mean, certainly on our modern piano, but possibly even on his piano as well. So I would suggest not but
yeah.
piano, just a little less than fortissimo. More like that. Yeah, that's worth maybe having to think about. There's quite a specific accent marking there, which I didn't hear. He accents, and then no accent. And somehow it's much more interesting like that, because otherwise, you know, it just sort of sounds rather, but this has a real character to it. And I'd like to add to that a touch thing, which you may want to work on sometime. What you do is you get your sound bite, you go into the key, you sort of strike it from the top. And I would rather have you, almost like you pluck it out. If you try 5-2, just out of curiosity, it's a sharp. But yeah, that's more or less the action. You don't need to come away so much. Yeah. You get the lift of the motive. It's not, you know. Yeah. I do find it a little slow, the theme, because in fact you do sort of then change the tempo a little bit. So I think it's important to have a more brisk tempo. And he does actually give us a metronome marking, and we don't have a metronome here to check exactly what it is, but I'm sure, as I speak, a metronome is brought. So, right, it's 112. That's nearer. I mean, it's still an allegro moderato. It shouldn't be really fast, but when you did it, then the second two were still accented, though. Was still rum. Da, da, da. I'd like to go, I think, just through this tenuto, which is tenuto but not legato. And in fact, your left hand, you fingered even legato, and I think it's important that in fact it isn't, that the legato is not between every other note of the theme. Yeah, with piano, yeah. The right and left hand to be the same volume? I mean, is that what you're aiming at there?
More or less.
Because it sounds to me like it's written like that instead of ya dee. It seems to me that because these are crotchets and these are quavers with rests, that the quavers probably are slightly less important, and that one needs this sort of differentiation between the lines. Can you just try that quickly? Or you want to lead into it maybe from here? Play the right hand just forte. That bass note though, sing so that it can sing through. Can you give me a real pianissimo and absolutely accenty? You just hear these. Well, but at the tip, yeah. Yeah, but I didn't. But that one the most of all. Yeah, but you see here, mezzo forte. Well, it's not suda because there's a diminuendo, but there's a pianissimo with that wonderful change. Still accent. Yeah, but you need the left hand, you see, to begin the theme there. Because it's coming out. Yeah, just a little poke on that D there. Yeah, then not staccato, then staccato. But that's important too. That should be held the full length. Just a forte. Now, fortissimo.